Hi guys, so today I'm going to teach you how to make the classic chocolate chip cookie. Everyone needs to know this recipe. It's basic, it's simple, it comes together in no time, and I don't know anyone who doesn't like it. We're going to go over the ingredients and then we're going to get started. So we have some really soft room temperature butter. You want to make sure that it's really soft. We have some chocolate chips. I have a combination of milk chocolate and semi-sweet. Use your favorite. We have some pure vanilla extract, 2 whole eggs, some granulated sugar, some light brown sugar. We have baking soda, all-purpose flour, and a little touch of salt. So whenever I make chocolate chip cookies, and especially when I'm making them for my children, they don't like walnuts or any kind of nut in there. They like all chocolate chips. So that's why I'm using chocolate chips, and it's about 3 cups of it. You can use any combination of chocolate and nut or dried fruit. Whatever your favorites are, go ahead and use that. So you can use like different kinds of chocolate, like semi-sweet, dark, milk chocolate, or even chopped up white chocolate in here. You could chop up your favorite chocolate bar and put it in here, little bits of it. You can put salted pretzel, anything you want, like the sky's the limit. Actually, if you have a little combination of salty and crunchy and sweet in here, it tastes really good. This is the basic recipe, but make it however you like. Post down in the comments how you're making it, but we're going to go with the basic, really super chocolatey chocolate chip cookie. We're going to begin by creaming our butter and our sugar together. So while the butter and sugar are creaming, you want to put 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Anytime you're using a stand mixer, you want to go in with a spatula and scrape down the sides so that way everything mixes really evenly. And at this point, I'm just going to add my 2 eggs and let that mix until it's really nice and creamy and fluffy. So this is what you want to see. You want to see that the butter and the sugar are nicely creamed and incorporated. At this point, you're just going to whisk together the baking soda and the salt and the all-purpose flour. You could also pass it through a sifter if you want to, but it's really not necessary when you're making these cookies. And then go ahead and add all of the flour to your mixing bowl. And just mix it, begin on low speed, and then increase the speed until the flour is all incorporated. To prevent over mixing, once you still can see a little bit of flour, just go in there with your spatula and again scrape down the sides. And then at this point you could add all of your chocolate chips or your nuts, whatever you're using in here, and just mix everything up until it comes together. Don't over mix it. That's it. That's what you want it to look like. If you overmix it, you're going to have tough cookies, so just stop right there. So you want to make sure that your oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Really what I like to do anytime I'm baking, I like to begin with the temperature a little higher. So begin with 375 degrees. I always start a little higher because anytime you open the oven, heat escapes and the temperature drops. So I preheat it to 375, and then once I put the cookies in, I put it right away to 350, so it holds that temperature. You can do that if you want to. It just depends on how your oven cooks. But anyway, you want to have the oven preheated, and we cook in Fahrenheit here in the States. I get a lot of questions if I use Fahrenheit or Celsius, but the recipes always specify what degrees I cook in. So now I have 3 baking sheets lined with parchment paper, and then you want to have some ice cream scoops if you have them on hand. Otherwise you can totally do this with tablespoons too. This makes really beautiful big cookies, and they're going to be crispy on the edges and really soft and chewy in the center. It's completely up to you if you want to make small cookies or big cookies. Personally, I like the big cookies, but I'll show you both just so that way you can know what they're going to look like. I'll make a few trays of big and a few trays of small. A few things you need to know: anytime you're going to scoop the cookies onto your tray, you want to make sure that you leave room because they're really going to spread out. If you don't leave room, they're going to stick together, and then they'll be more of like a oddly shaped cookie cake. And even though that's good too, I do have a recipe for that. This is not that recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and form some cookies on here, and then we're going to pop them in the oven. We're going to begin with the big cookies. So you want to make sure that there's this much room, and if you're doing big cookies, no more than 5 per tray. So the scoop is full but not really overflowing. That you'll get yourself a really nice sized cookie that way. And this makes about 10 to 12 really big cookies. This is done. I'll pop this in the oven, and then we'll make some small ones as well. Same thing when you're doing with your small scoop. You fill it up until it's all full, and you leave some space in between for them to spread out. because we're not going to refrigerate these, so they're going to spread out really nicely. So I would say no more than 8 per tray of the small ones. So my cookies took between 10 to 13 minutes to bake, but never count on time when you're baking. A few tips that you need to know so that way they come out delicious every time. First of all, I suggest to bake 1 tray at a time in the center rack of your oven. So position the rack in the center of the oven and just bake 1 tray at a time, and that's going to ensure that they bake evenly and you won't have to keep opening and closing the oven to switch the trays, because when you do that, heat escapes and the temperature drops, and then you have to cook it longer, and what that runs the risk of is them over baking and becoming hard, and you don't want that. You want them to be crisp on the outsides, all around the edges, and you want to be really chewy on the inside. Once they come out the oven, they're going to be golden brown all around, and the centers are going to look a little bit pale, but they won't be raw. What happens when you let them set on the tray for 5 minutes is that they start to deflate and kind of fall, and the cookie sets. Once that happens, you want to transfer them onto a cooling rack if you want them to be a little extra crisp on the bottom. If you don't have a cooling rack, that's okay. Let them cool completely on the oven, on the baking tray, and that'll work fine, work just fine too. If you're making smaller ones, this recipe makes anywhere between 20 and 24 cookies. It just depends on the size of your scoop, how much you're putting out there. But again, make them as big or as small as you want. Personally, I like the bigger cookies. I feel like they just come out so much better. The longer you cook them, the crisper they're gonna get. So if you want really crisp cookies, just cook them a little bit longer. But personally, like I said, I like them to be really soft and almost doughy on the inside. That's how I like them, a little underbaked rather than overbaked. So if you just wanna, if you're not sure, always underbake. So at like the 10-minute mark, take a look, and as long as they're golden all around, they are done. Take them out. You just want them to cool completely, and let me show you what the cooled ones look like on the inside. All right, so you want to have a glass of milk ready because these are delicious, or maybe even a scoop of ice cream. But anyway, I'm going to cut into this one, and it's still, I would say it still needed a few more minutes to set, but I like it fresh out the oven, still hot. Look at that. Look at how gooey it is and how chocolatey it is. That is exactly what a chocolate chip cookie should be. I'm going to take a bite. It's just perfect. Crisp on the outside, really soft on the inside, super chocolatey because it has lots of chocolate chips. You're lucky enough this bite right here had a milk chocolate chip and a semi-sweet. I put milk chocolate because my children really like it. Personally, in these cookies, I like to go more towards the bittersweet and the semi-sweet, just because the cookie dough is already sweet, and I feel like the less sweet chocolate chips balance it out really nicely. But it's completely up to you. You want to put peanut butter chips in here, go right ahead. Perfection in every bite. The recipe, as always, will be in the description box down below. It takes you to the website www.dimitrasdishes.com. Make these, share pictures with me on Facebook and on Instagram. Comment down below and let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next time. Bye everyone.